AI challenges are, again, extremely important. It's one thing to deploy a general cloud computing platform, and it's a completely different thing to add a bunch of GPUs that need to be scaled really, really fast. So I think that maybe an advice would be to come to Intel, to come to Cisco, to come to Cluster Power, and look at some models that have already been deployed and are working and have been validated by the industry before jumping into making an investment.
Yeah, okay, no, thank you. All right. So, hey, I'll come to questions. I think they're going to drop. There's a slide they'll pop up here which has got contacts if you'd like to know more about some of the things we discussed. But you know, just on that note, any questions that anyone would like to ask from the audience? Yes.
Maybe.
Oh, sorry, there's a microphone here. Thank you.
The question is related to the kind of workload. Are you using virtualization, bare metal, containers? What is the trend for application perspective?
Well, currently we're seeing use cases for all of everything that you've mentioned. Definitely, we're seeing that containers are getting more traction compared to VM, to classical virtual machine and virtualization environment. But also we have for, let's say, more private cloud or private infrastructure requirements, we're seeing more and more bare metal requirements. So currently we're doing, let's say, projects on AI space, so building large-scale artificial intelligence clusters that are somehow dedicated for training of foundational models, in which the customers prefer to deploy their own orchestration or software stack. However, from a technological perspective, they are using containers. From a management perspective, they are doing their management. So we're definitely seeing, like I mentioned before, we're definitely seeing an increase in the demand of container-based solutions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? All right. So thank you for your time and listening. As mentioned, the contact information there, or if you'd like to know more, including the specific case study from Cluster Power's amazing world-class data center initiative. Hopefully this has been useful, giving you some insights for that. Any questions, feel free to come up and ask us. Otherwise, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Cheers.
Well done. Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
All right, great. We're just out of that innovation talk, and it was great to hear about Cisco's partnership with Intel. I'm now joined in the studio by Agostino. So Agostino Santini, you are our VP of South EMEA for Cisco. Welcome to the studio. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I mean, it's always great to be here at Cisco Live, and thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Now, we've talked a lot this week already. Today's the first day we're broadcasting. The World of Solutions was open yesterday, but we've talked a lot about AI. Right, so let's unpack that and really talk about what AI means. Now, the first question I have for you is, what is AI? What are some of the new trends, and why now? Why is this a really good time at Cisco Live, Amsterdam 2024, to be talking about AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, the level of conversation and the number of time everyone is saying AI.
Yes.
So you have to have it in,
yes.
in your conversation. I mean, if we reflect for a second, the concept of AI, if you think at Cisco portfolio, it has been here since a decade.
Right.
Now, of course, we are becoming all expert of the new trend that is generative AI. And when I look at the market, everyone is talking about this on three main topics. One is around the key principles, and government leaders, the European Union, politicians are also thinking about that aspect. Then the regulatory, how to make AI more inclusive. And the third, that is the topic of our Cisco Live, how AI is helping our clients together with our partner to transform their business model. So it's impressive the way Cisco has integrated AI in the entire Cisco portfolio, and it's amazing to see how our partners are working with us to make business outcome for our clients even more successful. So it's a cool moment, AI that we are thinking of, something around privacy. I mean, our CEO said several years ago that privacy has to be a human right.
Yes, yep, I remember.
You remember it?
Yeah.
I mean, we strongly believe that sustainability is another great principle of, security is another. So what I see as Cisco, based on solid principles, we are developing the AI with this principle in mind. And principle has to be, yes, principles, but also has to be transformed in processes to make sure through the entire Cisco chain, these principles are very well respected. So I believe we are in a great position to make sure that we are creating AI under solid principles.
For sure, and we have lots of different types of customers at Cisco. We have small businesses, we have enterprise, service providers, public sector. Some of those customers are really embracing it and getting really creative and diving in. And some others, are standing back a little bit, they're waiting to see what other people do. But if we talk specifically about the public sector, what are the real opportunities for public sector customers with AI?
Yeah, if you think about, I'm running the business for Cisco in some of European Union countries. So just take one sub-segment of the public sector, take healthcare.
Right.
The European Parliament in December started the journey to make the healthcare data, the secondary data of the European citizens available in respect of the privacy. Think about this level of data powered by AI. Think about what we can create. How can we transform the processes of the healthcare, and how can we make the patients more safer using the data? So we see a trend where AI can significantly improve processes in the public sector, and there are two areas that we see wonderful opportunities to partner with. One is healthcare, and the second is everything around the critical infrastructure for any countries. That is a super interesting topic.
Right, and what about some of the other industries? Like if we think about things like education, you mentioned healthcare, what about like smart cities and governments? Any thoughts on how they are embracing AI? What are you hearing from those customers? I know in your region in South EMEA, you must be interacting with them. Like what are the common concerns, the common challenges, but then what are the common ways that we're using this technology to bring it to life in case studies and real life use cases?
Yeah, we are partnering with a lot of major in our wonderful countries and cities, and there are three main topics that AI can accelerate. The first one, how can make the city more efficient and productive,
right,
to save costs. Second, if you think about a city, you think about the citizens of the city and how can you dramatically improve their quality life. I love very much this concept of city in 15 minutes.
Right.
So
what is city in 15 minutes?
Means that take Barcelona, take Milan as an example. They have the ambition that every service has to be available within 15 minutes walk.
So accessibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is super cool. I don't think.
For sure.
The third, that there is incredible positive pressure, I would say, is how to make sure that my city is going to be sustainable. That means being aware of the importance of sustainability in every single process. So these interesting dynamics, and I'm always cautious on how important technology is in these days.
For sure, and at the show here, we're also talking about hybrid work. This has been evolving. It's not been something that's kind of stayed static, and the way that we work is constantly changing and evolving. Now, I know at Cisco, we're really fortunate. We've got some new office openings, right? Tell me about those, what are those offices like,
yeah.
And why is everyone making such a big fuss? Because I feel like I have to go visit them on my list now. They're on my list.
I'm lucky. I'm running the business in some beautiful countries in the world.
Yes.
And quite recently, I was in Paris. And at Cisco, we opened the most beautiful office in Paris and in the world. And the beauty, I like very much this concept that the office has to be a magnet.
Yes,
So-
not a mandate, right?
Yeah, not a mandate. And think about Paris. Think about Champs-Élysées, and think about an incredible building where you connect the old building with the new technology, where you're going to be surrounded, you are surrounded by beauty. And when you have choices to go there with the subway, you can bike, you can have different options. And we see that our employees, our customers, our partners are getting attracted by this wonderful office. I love it. So you have to come to
It's
visit
on my
us.
list for
Yes.
sure. It's not too far
Come.
from me in the UK. So just a final question for you. I know you've been at Cisco for quite a long time, right, through your career here. So tell me, if you were to speak to the Agostino when you first started, I'm not going to try and guess, when you started at Cisco, you can share if you like, what advice would you give that person starting out in IT? This technology is evolving so quickly. What was your experience like, and how has that evolved over time? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I'm a passionate IT guy,
Yes.
so I built my career around, let's say, three main things. One, I love technology. I've learned how important is business outcome. That in my reading is I'm passionate about clients and partner. And the third is curiosity. I mean, think about Cisco Live, contents that are here. We are so content rich, so I'm still curious to see what is going to be next. And it's a lot of fun.
Amazing. Agostino, thank you so much for joining me here in the studio. It's really great to see you, and I'm really glad to hear you're loving this week and have a good experience at Cisco
Great.
Live.
And come to Paris.
Oh, I can't wait. I will
We are waiting
do.
for you.
Thank you so much. So Cedric, you're out in the world of solutions. What is that you've got there? It looks super fun.
I mean, Nish, yes, I'm here. I think actually I found another career path. Like, I think I can become a rock star here in the world of solutions. Okay. So basically, here we are, and this is the stand with Live Nation, and this is how Cisco helps to provide an end-to-end solution to basically improve the high-density areas with the network and also elevate the connected fan experience. And if you wander around the booth, cameraman, let's just maybe take a turn as well. Like, we have a display as well on Cisco security, which is really important, IP fabric. We have some fans as well. There is Cisco spaces around us, and then the connected Stadia Wi-Fi, as I mentioned. I think we all love a pop concert, right? And I think basically that would be very great to have Cisco there. And Cisco, as you can see, is on top of everything, and they can just help you with a lot of the solutions. And we're going to go back to Nish right now. So Nish, over to you. And don't laugh.
I mean, I'm laughing a little bit, Cedric, but I've also done the same thing this week. I've tried on all the different outfits and gear, and I love to see the innovation that we have there at Live Nation around live music experiences. Now, speaking of innovation, the heart of Cisco and innovation and incubation is Outshift. Outshift drives emerging technologies, ideas, solutions, and really the resources to actually bring that to life for tomorrow's tech teams. I'm always so impressed to see the work they do, and we've already had some guests in the studio today talking at a high level about how we are innovating constantly. Stay with us, we're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Cisco TV studio here in Amsterdam at Cisco Live 2024. I am on set right now with Shubha Pant, VP of Artificial Intelligence at Cisco Outshift. Outshift by Cisco, an amazing organization. Congratulations, and I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Thank you, I'm excited to be here.
Me too, me too. Earlier this afternoon, I had an opportunity to sit down with Guillaume, with GSM, and we talked about Outshift's approaches to Gen AI protection, and now we get to go deep, because this is your ball game, right? So what are Outshift's latest advances in generative AI that our users here at Cisco are getting really excited about?
Happy to share that, and there are many. The way we look at it is AI for product and product for AI. That's the classification. And what Guillaume would have shared with you earlier today was in the category of AI for product. We're leveraging AI to empower our products, build new experiences, and all that. On the product for AI side of things, where we are focusing on how do we enable our customers to leverage and unleash the power of generative AI and do it in a rapid and trustworthy manner. Today, that journey is very arduous, cumbersome, very, very difficult. And this is where I think our new product, Motific, which we announced this morning, comes in play.
I'm excited for you, and we're going to talk about Motific as well. If we go back to the keynote today, this is one thing that Jonathan really hit on heavily, is that we've been in AI for a long time. It's the trust factor, right? It's the security side of it, so that people could really leverage it for their benefit and for successful outcomes. So let's go into Motific a little bit and see what Outshift is doing on that front right now.
Totally. So the challenge is that when we are talking to our customers and prospects, we see the same trend. And this is something we experienced within Cisco also. As the Gen AI storm hit us, everybody wants to leverage it, all the customers, in order to innovate, build new products, or improve current experiences, or improve productivity. So as they are going through, they're running into a lot of issues, and this is where Motific comes in play. First and foremost, you talked about the trust and security. So Gen AI has introduced a totally new set of issues in this arena. Whether it's security, privacy, trustworthiness, and safety, and some of the new concerns like prompt injection and toxicity and hallucination. And customers have no way of fixing it right now because there are no standards, there are no frameworks, there are no tools that exist today. So this is where Motific helps and comes with a pre-built set of policies and which you can customize for your organization, and you adapt to it, and very easily, within days, get it up and running.
And what sort of support is Outshift giving to our customers who are jumping on board? They hear about it today, they're excited about it. Congratulations to all of you for the release. But what are we offering them right out of the gate so that there's no guesswork on their part? They can just get right to work with this capability. Okay,
sure. I think that will, so let me walk you through a little bit of journey, what customers go through. So as a business team, there's a lot of urgency, like in every organization, that we have to get onto this bandwagon, right? And there's a lot of top-down pressure. And as these business teams, they are looking into, they're figuring out what use cases should I focus on, what should I build? Then they come up with their KPIs and success metrics and all that. Now, they look around, like what are the LLMs and like large language models that are out there, and they start testing with it. Now, in order to, it's only so useful, they need to customize it and bring their business context into the application. So that's where they onboard their knowledge bases, their own data sources, and all that. All this takes, and all these business teams, they're doing it in isolation because there is no central standard framework that exists today that enables them. So as they're building a lot of bespoke, redundant solutions, they somehow get through that. Now it goes back to the trust and safety security piece that I talked about. They run into that, and they need the blessings and the approval of their legal team, CISOs and CIOs. They are paranoid because nobody knows about much about this technology, and they are very fearful to just unleash it in production.
Yes.
So this is where Motific comes in. It in a very easy way, it enables the central IT teams and the security teams to, within hours, provision APIs and assistants, which these app developers can use. And then it provides a collaboration mechanism between the app developers, security teams, and legal teams to build these policies, which works for them. It adapts for them. And then off you go to production. Now there's another third persona which I not talked about the customers, the GMs and the business leaders.
Yes.
Very, very important for them. What they're building is meaningful, it's making money,
Sure.
It's solving their customer's problem. For that, they need end-to-end visibility into this, in terms of tracking what's going on, in terms of usage, cost. Is it really solving the problem that their customers are looking for? And currently, again, going back to, there is no central framework and tooling that exists today to do so. Motific comes in here also, and it provides the very in a very good way, prompt intelligence, which really tracks exactly what users are asking for, what needs are met, what are not met. It provides good visibility into cost, where they can then use that and do the ROI analysis, and so on and so forth.
We are filling gaps across the stack here. We're making it fully visible. We're tying together the things that have not been tied together before, and as we always do here at Cisco, if it's connected, it's got to be secure. This is such an important element, and it creates such differentiation for the Motific product. This is why I always tell people, stay connected to Outshift, follow what Outshift is doing, because you're changing things, you're adapting on such a regular basis, and I think it's usually based on what we hear from the customer, right?
Yes, totally, and security is paramount, and even though we are building new businesses, what is out there, what Cisco, as our mothership provides, we are leveraging it all across the journey. So I'll give you one example where there could be unauthorized or uncertified use of LLMs. So your organization has not approved it, but still somebody's using it. So we are actually connecting and integrating with our CASB systems and ensuring if there is any unauthorized usage, this is reported and it's kind of that risk is mitigated.
Fantastic. All right, so I want to ask you one more question here. Let's say I am part of an IT team. I'm leading a team, and my team has decided, all right, we want to implement Gen AI solutions in our ecosystem. How is Motific going to be a game changer for us right out of the gate the minute we adopt it?
As soon as they adopt it, within hours, as I said, they can provision APIs and assistant, which all of their business teams can use it. Second, this allows the collaboration between them, the business teams, and the security teams and legal teams to build their policies, test it out, and then roll it out across the organization so that there is no discrepancy and there are no holes that are left open. And then it also provides all the, so this is about the IT team, but at the same time, the business leaders, they are getting the full visibility into, and they can make their business decision based on the outcomes that they see.
Makes me faster, makes me smarter, makes me more, again, connected to the customer, but responsive to the customer. I lied, I am going to ask you one final question here. Compliance, not always the most thrilling topic in the world, right? But so vital to our infrastructure and to our operations. Policies change nonstop, right? Automated adaptation becomes so vital if we want to protect our sensitive data. Things like PII, right? Our personally identifiable information. How is Outshift helping me on the compliance front?
Totally. So we talked about the policies, right? How they are getting built, tested in collaboration across all these teams. Now it's all pre-launch. So you're testing it, you're happy with it, now you move to production. Now that's where I think the real game starts. And so Motific provides actually, if you think about every user prompt, any user input that's coming, and as it is going to the large language model, it's providing a control layer in the middle. So all the policies that you had in place and all the compliance for the security, privacy, and trustworthiness, they are in play both on the input and whatever the responses that are coming out of LLMs. So it's making it secure, and it identifies if there are any violations immediately so that the appropriate teams can take action.
Fantastic, it does the work for you, it takes the pressure off, absolutely. Shubha, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you. I'm so glad that you were able to take a little time out of your day to be with us here in the Cisco TV studio. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Stevie. Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
And to all of you, be sure to follow Outshift for all the latest and greatest in Gen AI and Cisco innovation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so we're here at Cisco Live 2024 Amsterdam, and we are bringing you all the behind the scenes and all of the knowledge and the experts right to you. So who was better to talk about generative AI than our very own VP of Artificial Intelligence, Shuba Pant. Thanks so much to Steve and Shuba for joining us here in the studio. Now, before we head out into our next innovation talk, which is about generative AI, it's going to be a big one, we're going to go out to Rob. Rob, I think you're in the WebEx lounge. You're going to continue the conversation around AI and collaboration, right?
Yes, I think you were speaking to me. It's funny, I just realized, Nish, that my earpiece wasn't in. And I'm like, wow, it's so quiet over there in the studio. I wonder when they're going to come over and want to talk to me and Megs. Well, thank you. I put it in at the right time. Megs, I just kind of did a really sloppy introduction of you there. You're with WebEx. You're showing off some of the incredible new capabilities that are part and parcel of the WebEx suite, as I understand it. What specifically is it that you wanted to share with us today?
So we are launching so many AI innovations here at the show, and I was really struggling actually what to share with you, but I thought, you're a video content creator, like I have to talk about our asynchronous workloads and how we have seamlessly integrated those into WebEx. So what you can do in WebEx now is, from directly here in your WebEx spaces, you can just click on our link here, our vidcast icon here, in order to record a video directly from WebEx, okay? So you open it up, you'll see your vidcast window. It should look very familiar if you're accessing our asynchronous video capabilities from the web page. It'll look very familiar as well. And then from here you can, manage your audio, manage your camera, you can share your screen, you can turn on a virtual background, and then we're going to start recording. So, I'm communicating with my friends here. I need to share something with them. Okay, I don't need a meeting for that. I just need to explain how this tool works, how the trimming works, how some of the capabilities in vidcast work. So I'm just going to share it. Typically you'd be sharing a presentation as well. You can do that directly from WebEx. Then I'm going to click stop. I can trim it here, add a little title to it. So let me just add a quick title. So I'm going to call it Clip and Trim. And that's going to be shared then directly with all of my colleagues here in WebEx.
All right. So if I can jump in for a second, I want to make sure nobody missed anything that Mags is talking about here, because I did have a chance to play with this a bit more and work with the incredible Hannah Burke, who's on the vidcast team. And I believe we shared how much she's been helpful for both of us. But what Mags is showing here is built into WebEx. So the idea of you go, well, what big deal, I can click a button and start a video recording. Of course you can do that in other places on your machine. But does it have the same regulations, the same rules around how data is supposed to be shared or not shared in your environment, within your domain, for your entire company? Those type of things, all those share permissions, they follow through with things like vidcast. But the point is that why have a meeting if all you need to do is share some very specific information with one or many people, including possibly, as many of us are doing now, you could do not just the camera, but grab the screen as well. So you're educating in a way that maybe is a bit more, how should I say, being nice to the other person about their time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does some things for you on your behalf, correct?
Absolutely. So what's absolutely fantastic about it is I have generated this content. As I showed you, you could do a little trimming yourself, but then the additional AI processing that is added to the video is it's pulling out highlights. So the assistant is pulling out the pertinent information and highlights, so that while this video is 4 minutes long, here I actually see the 4 primary points that are available as part of this video. And then also, it also automatically generates chapters for me. So here I have chapter 1, 2, and 3. So just a real time saver. Like, all of these capabilities are around increasing my productivity, helping me communicate more effectively, helping me stay on top of my work, helping me catch up quickly. Like, these are just absolutely fantastic innovations and such time savers.
Well, I wish I could say I always knew about this, but it was actually working with a WebEx product manager, and he kept sending me videos of the stuff he was getting across. And it's not as if he had to send me several for me to get it, because I immediately understood. But I was like, instead of having a meeting and we had to share, which still is necessary, and obviously that's one click away as well. That's awesome, you're right? But this is just another way to share it. But I like the fact, so we're using AI not to just rewrite, but also to summarize and then chapterize, so that that's another step for the person you're sending it to say, all I care about is point number 3, click and go. Is that right?
Exactly, and same is true for meetings as well. I'd love to show some of the automatic chapters in meetings as well if we have time, because a lot of the times when you're sharing content with people, they don't actually need the full hour or the full 5 minutes or 15 minutes. It's like they just want that segment that is appropriate to them. So we have a similar capability in meetings as well, where we can chapter out automatically the content for you, so you can just access what you need.
That's about all the time we have on the vidcast. Was there one other thing you wanted to tell us about before we have to go? Oh, you're going to get it ready. This is, okay, look at that. Got a fancy chart up. Tell us what we're looking at.
So what we're looking at here is actually a meeting recording about this booth, okay? So we have all of our experts here getting the demo suite here up and running. They had a 15-minute meeting on this and recorded it. Now, previously, if I had missed the meeting, and that happens a lot, I'm based in Europe, a lot of my colleagues are based in the US, I'm catching up on recordings the next day, I'm going through the transcripts. You know, it's wonderful. I can search for keywords, it's super quick. But you know what's quicker? Is when I have a 2-paragraph summary, okay? 2-paragraph summary plus 3 action items that I can just consume in, like less than a minute, as opposed to watching back the 15 minutes straight away. And then my favorite thing, now I was not assigned any actions here, luckily, but if I was, and I wasn't in the meeting, it's a 1-click to get additional context on why that action was assigned to me. So you click here, it brings you to that point in the recording, so you just get this extra context without having to ping the person who's assigned you the action to say, can you give me this information? Which again, like I'm a few hours away, so just self-serving, saving time, getting on top of things straight away. By the time my colleagues come in the morning, I have this job done.
Wow, I love that too, because one of the things, it reminds me of, we're always wanting to recheck when we have AI write for us, or we're doing research or something, you always want to check your sources, and the better eyes do that. This is checking your own source of your own information, so nice circular, because that could be very important if something was misinterpreted. I'm a huge fan of transcripts for learning and accelerating learning. Mags, thank you so much for the time here. Guys, please come down and check out the WebEx booth, say hi to Mags, and get all the information you need. Don't leave here without it. Take care. Back to you, Nish.
Thanks so much, Rob, and thanks to Mag. And I'm back here with Steve. Steve, can I just say, I could connect so much to Mags here. Every time I go into WebEx, there's a new feature.
Yeah.
I'm also based in EMEA, like Mags is. I have a lot of meetings with my global team, and the amount of times that I've actually gone in to WebEx and I've gone, oh, I'm going to have to watch this, 1 hour long recording. In fact, I'm only needed for this 5-minute snippet of it. I know exactly what my action is from it, and I love the chapters as well, so you can really understand. I needed to listen to this part of the meeting. They went, off track a little bit. They came back, and now I need to listen to this. What an amazing feature that saves us time, resources, and just keeps us more energized and ready to go for next activity, right?
It is so true. And what people, again, and all right, back to the buzzword, AI. I know we've been saying it
Yes,
nonstop all day, right? But we have to remember, Cisco's been in AI for a long time. A lot of the features that you just talked about, these are fundamental features that WebEx, that the Collab team, started to incorporate AI into WebEx some time ago to learn about the user. Who are you? What do you actually need? How do we maximize your time in the ground? You got to be in the meeting anyway. How do we make sure that we're delivering what you need, allowing you to go, clearing up your bandwidth in other areas? Guess what it is? It's an enablement. It's an AI capability that is a human-to-human interaction and connection, and I think that's really cool, and it's great to hear it from Mags and the WebEx team.
Absolutely, and I think when you can actually feel the impact of something like AI, and it actually becomes real for you, you're there, like I work from home a lot, actually feeling that impact day to day, I feel lighter. Can I wear like an I Heart AI t-shirt or a
You're already lighter. Look at you. I'm in the dark. You're in the red. You're already lightened up. Maybe it's all because of AI and WebEx, right?
There's so many t-shirts that I've seen around the show that I want. I Heart AI, I Heart Cisco. The Cisco store has some amazing stuff as well, right?
Sure.
So much merch that I want to buy, to find.
I love that. Can I very quickly, I just want to reach out to everybody who's watching us here in the broadcast, because we don't do it enough. Remember, we want to hear from all of you. Hashtag Cisco Live EMEA, at Cisco Live EMEA. Please keep reaching out to us when you see a great interview like Rob just did with Mags and the WebEx team there. Write to us. What do you like? Comment on it, because our social media team wants to hear that and they want to respond to you, right, Nish?
Absolutely. I love seeing people's photos, videos, however they're experiencing Cisco Live with their pets, with their families. They're out on a walk, listening, watching us. We love to see it. Well, we're now going to head out to a new innovation talk. It's generative AI with Outshift. Enjoy this.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I know all of you are here to talk about the 2-letter acronym that's on everybody's mind, AI. But we're going to focus ourselves on generative AI, not the broader topic of AI, but focusing on generative AI. I'll have Anurag and Fletcher also join me on stage in a little bit. But before that, let's dive in and figure out what can generative AI do for us. So if you think about generative AI, just open up the aperture to what you've been accustomed to so far. So it is a piece of technology that actually allows for generation of content, for summarization of content, or for transformation of content. So any kind of content, whether it's text, whether it's visual, so images, as well as video, or whether it's audio. And if you think about text, it could be code as well, because code is a part of text. Increasingly, what we're also seeing is that all of these modes of content are merging into the model as well. So models are increasingly becoming multimodal. So when you think about use cases in your organization, don't just think single mode, think multimodal, because you will be blending text to speech, text to video, text to code, and so on and so forth. So think about it in terms of multimodality. Now, since so much can be done with generative AI, we found out from the AI Readiness Index that Cisco ran a couple of weeks ago that 97% of companies really are under pressure to build something that is Gen AI first and deploy those solutions in their organization. But only 14% of organizations are actually ready for it. And there's a reason for this. The reason is that generative AI is actually evolving pretty rapidly. And so as it evolves, if you think about building solutions, it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with the model evolution that's happening out there. It's hard to keep up with the safety needs of deploying these applications. It's hard to keep up with the scalability requirements, with the security requirements that align to the policies in your organization. So that's why it's very difficult for organizations to keep up with the pace of generative AI that's happening out there. And by the way, it's true for everybody. People who are in the weeds in generative AI, the people who've actually invented transformers and generative AI, also are having a hard time keeping up. So you're not alone. So take comfort in that fact that you're not alone. But if you think about the journeys that you need to go through, we've tried and categorize it in 4 buckets here. And just assume that you will be in all of these 4 buckets every given moment in time. So the first bucket is you're just consuming that piece of technology. So if it's an app, ChatGPT, you might just be consuming it without customizing it. The second bucket is extending it. So let's say you take our foundation model, but you want to make it specific to your organization's needs. To do that, you'll have to bring in knowledge bases and data sources that are specific to your organization. Let's say you're dealing with finance, and you have a question about finance. You need to feed in data which is specific to finance in your organization for that model to be able to answer those questions. So that's extending what you're doing. Then moving, you might be customizing it. So to customize it, you might start with the actual model itself and fine-tune it to make sure that it suits your needs. Finally, if you are one of the daredevils that are AI first, you might actually build the foundation model yourself. So that's the last bucket. Typically, what you'll see is enterprises where we all belong. If you're not planning your birthday party, or if you're not planning your travel itinerary, you might be sitting in the second, the third, and the fourth buckets. Because just consuming an app as is probably not as relevant to organizations. You might need to customize it in some shape, way, or form. But again, like I said earlier, you will be in each one of these buckets all the time. You'll have tools that fall into each one of these buckets all the time. So as you think about all of those deployment modes, and if you think about how to develop apps or how to deploy some of these tools, what is it that you usually go through? First and foremost, you need to figure out use cases. What makes sense? What are the use cases that you need to pick to experiment? And if you're new to experimentation, the only piece of advice I would give is just jump in. Jump in, pick a use case that has a low cost of failure. So if something goes wrong, no big deal. Because if you don't jump in, the first thing that happens is you don't know what you don't know. And once you jump in, you realize it's not just the skill set gap that you might have. It might be the data gap that you might have. It might be that the pipeline that you're trying to build needs to come from various places, not just one vendor, but various different vendors. So all of these gaps you will not figure out. It might be policies that your organization has put in place that disallow a few tools or don't let them work the way you would want them to work. So you do need to jump in, you need to pick a use case with a low cost of failure. And then you start thinking about what next. So let's figure out my KPIs. What do I want out of this deployment or this use case? And if I deploy them, what is that before and after metric that I'm measuring? I need to start thinking about safety. Is it going to hallucinate? Is it going to output toxic information? What kind of guardrails do I need to put in place so that it's safe as well as secure? And then you start experimenting. You start building a sandbox. You start looking at how these things behave, the application behaves in that sandbox. And once you're happy, you deploy at scale. And once you go in production, you need to worry about scaling, cost, security, and so on and so forth. So you usually go through all of these steps to actually make a generative AI use case real. What we are figuring out is people are jumping in, which is a good thing. They are on step 1. Steps 2, 3, and 4 are really, really difficult for people to grasp. And so here we're going to bring up a few people on stage in a little bit who've actually done this at scale at Cisco, and we can talk about challenges that they've faced while doing this at Cisco. But the other complication in deploying some of these Gen AI workloads in your organization is that it's a multi-organizational problem. So you have the builder, the people who are actually building that use case. They want to run really, really fast. You have the spender. Usually it's the GM, or it could be the IT team. And in our case, we'll talk to both the IT team as well as the GM of the organization. And they want to know how we are doing. You might be spending a ton of money sending tokens to OpenAI. Are you getting the response that you needed? Are you getting a good before and after picture? Is there good return on investment? And then finally, there are approvers. You need to make sure that your data is safe, your information is safe, but also you need to make sure that your customer's information is safe. You need to make sure that there is no bias that is inherent in your models. You need to make sure that they're secure. You don't want somebody else to come in and hack your LLM pipeline, and things can go awry at that point. So all of these personas need to come together to make sure that your rollout is safe and secure, and it needs to be done pretty rapidly. So with that, what I'd like to do is invite Anurag, who's our SVP and CTO of engineering in collaboration for WebEx, as well as Fletcher, who's our CIO, to help and talk about how they have dealt with AI in the enterprise. Because in Cisco, we think about AI deployments in two categories. One is productivity, which is how is Cisco itself benefiting from the tools that are generative AI first and improving our productivity, as well as a builder like Anurag, who's using AI in his WebEx portfolio day in and day out to build some nifty features in the product. So Anurag and Fletcher, please come on board.
Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you for joining me, and let's have a conversation. Both of you have been deploying a bunch of these tools in Cisco, as well as building a product using generative AI in WebEx. So let me start with you, Anurag, and can you help us understand the kinds of features that you've built in collaboration using generative AI?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So we've been using AI in WebEx for a long time. We have features like audio noise removal and virtual backgrounds and so on, but we're specifically talking about generative AI. So let me talk about that. Recently, we've added an AI-based assistant in WebEx, and that's going to be available across the whole portfolio. So all of the products in the WebEx suite, as well as our contact center, are going to benefit from this AI assistant. And to give you a few examples of what it can do, if you were at the keynote this morning, you saw Jeetu talk about a little bit of this. To jog your memory, one of the productivity boosters that the AI-based assistant enables is this capability to catch up very quickly. So you might have joined a meeting a little bit late, or you were in a meeting but you had to step away for a little bit. The assistant is always active, and so it can help you catch up on what you missed. And you can have a follow-up conversation with the assistant, so you can, for example, ask if anyone took your name, if anyone gave you an action item, and then at the end of the meeting, you get a nice summary and insights out of that. So that's a very simple, straightforward, obvious example, but a huge productivity boost. If you think about another capability where generative AI is very good, it's generating new content. And so this example that I'm sharing now is the ability to rewrite a message and make it better. And this is something that I do quite often with my team. Before I send a message, I want to make sure that I'm friendly, I'm inclusive, and I'm getting my point across, but really make sure that I can cultivate my relationship. So AI can help you do that as well. And if you think about the admin persona, people who are managing these deployments, the AI assistant can be quite a bit of time saver there as well. Jitu talked about this example this morning as well. Let's say I want to troubleshoot a problem with a call or a meeting quality. I can just engage in a dialogue with the AI assistant in WebEx Control Hub, and it can bring all the relevant information at my fingertips. And you were earlier talking about generative AI in the context of audio and video and other things as well. So this is an example where I'm asking a text-based question, but the assistant comes back with charts, and it's truly multimodal in that sense. And so these are just a few examples, but like I said earlier, AI is going to be embedded across the whole portfolio in WebEx, and it's going to be pervasive in everything we do.
So there are a lot of companies out there that build AI-first solutions.
Yeah.
How is Cisco any different from any of them?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because almost everyone in the industry is talking about assistants now, right? Like that's the most obvious first step that everyone is taking. Our approach is slightly different because we think very deeply about how people communicate. And when you think about how we communicate with each other, there's a part of that communication that is text-based. Emails, chat messages, SMSs, and large language models are very good at summarizing those, extracting insights out of that. But a lot of communication happens in non-text modalities. People communicate a lot with gestures and reactions and tone of voice. And if you're not capturing that information, you're really missing out on a lot of context. So this is why we've introduced industry's very first real-time media models that can capture all of that context that is happening in audio and video. And then when you combine that with large language models, you can deliver some amazing capability. So that's what sets us apart. And then one other thing I'll say is, given our heritage in strong audio and video capabilities, we've recently announced a brand new audio codec. When you think about those assistant capabilities I was showing earlier, if the assistant cannot hear you properly, it won't generate a good transcript. And if it doesn't have a good transcript, then the summarization will be pretty poor. So fundamental problem is, how do you get crisp audio and video across the network, especially under heavy packet loss conditions? And so that's where we're applying generative AI to reconstruct packets on the wire and deal with any kind of network conditions. And that's like another example of how we differentiate.
So can you also talk to us about a few challenges that you faced? Because this journey is non-trivial, as we just discussed.
Yeah, you touched upon some of those, but from a very practical point of view of what we have done, I'll start with data privacy as the first principle, because at Cisco, privacy is core of everything that we do. And so when you're building these products, you have to make sure that your customers' data is protected. How do you make sure personally identifiable information or IP does not leak to especially any of these LLM vendors if you're integrating those unit products? Another thing that becomes very interesting with generative AI is safety. And imagine a text-based interface, a prompt-based interface. How do you make sure that the responses that come back are not in such a way that are going to drive some bad behavior or bad responses or hateful speech and things like that? So you have to make sure you have guardrails there. Another one is a classic AI problem that is very relevant with generative AI, which is bias. And this is where, at Cisco, we have a very well-established responsible AI program. You are the executive sponsor, so you know all about this. And this is also, you were talking about cross-org collaboration. This is a perfect example where we have a responsible AI program that guides how we build products. And then I will also add cost as a vector here. When I'm building products, I want to make sure that the cost isn't prohibitive, that I don't really jack up my prices to such a level that nobody can benefit from these productivity gains. So how do you build and architect systems in such a way that it can be manageable from a cost point of view? So those are just a handful of challenges that we run into.
So let me come to you, Fletcher, and you have been rolling out Gen AI tools within Cisco for more than a year now, I would say. What's your philosophy? I mean, and give me some examples of some of the tools that you've rolled out. I mean, I'm a user of some of those tools, but where do you want to take it, and what's your philosophy and strategy?
Yeah, the philosophy is to think about AI as a teammate, not as a replacement for people. So somebody, a technology that gives people more time, makes them more productive, a force multiplier for what you're able to get done in a day. And sort of a way to think about it is, if the Industrial Revolution was about physical products and mass producing physical things, AI, and in particular generative AI, might be kind of the Industrial Revolution for knowledge workers. The mass production of information and learning, and ultimately returning time back to people to spend more time doing the thing you were hired to do, and less time doing the stuff that we all just feel like we're wasting time doing because we work at a big company. So we've rolled out some of the obvious things that you would probably all have also rolled out. Copilot for GitHub, in the process of Copilot for Microsoft 365, ChatGPT, but doing those in controlled ways. Like ChatGPT is running in a private instance where we use the Azure PII API to remove any identifiable information from the prompts that anybody might put in. We also keep that all in our network, so none of the data gets reused for public training data. And then use technologies like retrieval augmented generation to combine the benefit of a large language model with the proprietary data that we know about our business. So think about things like TAC case data, Cisco product data. Can we make that chat be able to answer questions like, what is the PoE budget of this switch? When does this router get end-of-lifed and which one replaces it? I'm a salesperson. Help me write an email to the CIO of a big company about why Cisco firewalls are better than Palo Alto. And then not use public data to do that, but our private data from Salesforce and sales enablement material and things like that. The other big one that is interesting is Copilot for GitHub. I think historically we all thought software development is probably the thing that AI will never be able to disrupt. AI is going to disrupt these lower order jobs like HR, task-oriented things first. And software development is just human beings' creativity and their brains, and it's never going to be able to do that. Turns out AI is very good at writing software, or writing code, and it's one of the first real use cases of making developers more efficient. And so right now, 47% of all code being checked into GitHub is being augmented by Copilot or some other AI. And by the midpoint of this calendar year, GitHub says 80% of all code being checked in will be helped by AI. And so now, you've always sort of thought there's no way to compress software development. That's why we all focused on things like CI/CD pipelines, test automation, because that stuff you can automate. You can actually compress the amount of time that it takes to write software, which is allowing us to really do more with less. So that's just a few examples of, the intranet, we're building an LLM-enabled digital equivalent of a friend who has worked at Cisco for 20 years and knows everything. So you can go to the intranet and sort of, you'll be able to interrogate it and ask it things that if you were a new employee, where do I find this? How do I do that? What's the answer to this? And it will just know all those answers. Giving you the answer is one thing, but it will be able to do those things for you and actually take the action.
So Fletcher, I actually want to thank you because you have been a very progressive IT organization, and you've helped us adopt these tools when a lot of the enterprises take the posture of, just saying no because there's so many risks involved. Can you tell us a little bit about your thinking process for being so forward-looking and enabling us with that?
Well, luckily, and by the way, I should have said, we are, of course, also using the AI features of WebEx, which we use every day, a huge productivity enhancer. and some of the AI ops in things like Catalyst Center, formerly known as DNA Center. That helps my infrastructure team a great deal. But I think when we have these conversations with the responsible AI team, with legal, with security, the easy answer is we cannot move forward until we know all of the answers to every question that legal has, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. The problem is, if you do that, you're going to get left behind. So how do we do this in a safe way where we're protecting our data? And as much as we worry about our data, we really worry about your data. We've got to make sure that is taken care of. But the philosophy is we're genuinely excited and curious about what people will do with this technology. So of course we have to make it available, but how do we do that in a safe way where if I'm doing my job well, people are not aware of any limits that we've imposed on them because people are not trying to do anything that they shouldn't be trying to do. And we're just enabling people to do what is required for their jobs. It's kind of the same approach to security. If you're constantly running into security controls, there's a problem. Really, you should be able to do your job and not be aware of any of the guardrails that are in place because you're not doing anything wrong. And it's sort of the same here. So, don't put, we allow people to go out to the public version, for example, of ChatGPT. But when you do it, you get a pop-up in the browser saying, if you're doing this for anything related to Cisco, you should be using the internal version. And if people paste something into the browser that is personally identifiable information or Cisco proprietary or Cisco confidential, we'll get an alert on that and we'll know about it. And so, there's just, it's a discussion with legal, with security, with HR, to get to the goal we all want, which is, isn't it going to be so exciting to see what all of our employees are going to do with this technology?
So I know we've all talked about that chart that I showed earlier. As you can imagine, we are building something from scratch, so everything from the models themselves, all the way to the application, which was the fourth bucket, to what Fletcher was describing earlier, where you're taking a model, taking a chat application, and customizing it with some of the data sources that are specific to Cisco in our case, to make sure that it's relevant, it's specific, it's relevant, and it's recent. Right. And so that entire mode, all the 4 modes are something that we all participate in all the time. And so with that, what I'd like to do is, we are also announcing this, this is going the other way. So we are announcing a new product called Motific, and Fletcher here has been very helpful in being a customer zero and helping define this, and so has Anurag because of all the experience that they've used in building out their product. The whole idea behind Motific is, like we were all discussing, it's a multi-organizational problem. So how do we bring all of these organizations together? From the end user, to the GM, to the builder, to the approver. Can we bring all of these personas together, as well as all of your organization's specific data sources, policies, identities, and so on, so that there is one place, a central hub, if you may, where you can come in, and this hub will help you rapidly and safely create and deploy your generative AI solutions. So that's what Motific is all about. And with that, let's roll the video.
The Gen AI landscape is uncertain, a constantly shifting terrain. But organizations must engage with Gen AI or risk being left behind. Introducing Motific, a complete software solution that provides the Gen AI innovation you need. With Motific, you can build trustworthy AI quickly and in compliance. Its centralized control gives you command over all your organization's data in one place, alongside enterprise-grade governance and oversight. Motific provides a window into your organization's costs and usage, while accelerating your Gen AI deployment from months to days. By unifying permissions and controls, Motific gives you Gen AI tools that apply trust, cost, and access management across all the providers you use. From From a strong foundation comes unlimited possibilities. Accelerate your organization's Gen AI journey with Motivic, powered by Outshift.
So if you think about the early days of cloud, this is exactly where we are with AI as well, generative AI as well. You'll have these organizations that are trying to run fast. How do you make sure that they run fast, as we've heard today from both our speakers here, our guests here, as well as making sure that central IT teams have the controls that they need and the visibility that they need to make sure that you're not crossing the boundary or the line somewhere. So that's what Motivic provides. If you want to learn a lot more about what Anurag talked about or about Motivic, these are some of the sessions that you can go to, and you can also come to our booths where we have the demos as well as talks on some of these ideas that we just discussed.
If I might add, because you talked about how we sort of contributed and inspired to this. So one of the challenges that we've been very aware of as builders is that the state of the art here is moving so fast that you want to maintain optionality. You don't want to lock yourself to a provider or a model. And it is very important for you to architect your product so that you can switch things out as the state of the art progresses forward. And a product like this would be a huge enabler in maintaining that optionality. And the policy controls that the video was talking about is also very, very important. Because when I'm building a product and selling it to thousands of customers, they all have their own policies, like Fletcher has the policy for Cisco. And so building a product that is flexible enough to adapt to all of these customers' policies is actually a very hard challenge. And then we went through this process, and so I'm glad that we finally are codifying all of that in a product so that the next developers are going to find it a lot easier to do that.
That's a great point, Anurag. So I think if you think about a product like this, I mean, the things that you brought up, first and foremost, the abstractions that you need to be vendor agnostic. So whether you're using ChatGPT or GPT, rather, or Bard or an open source LLM, it doesn't matter. Making sure that you have the policies and compliance and controls at your fingertips. Making sure that you have trust and safety taken care of, as well as your ROI and costs under control in one place, I think is super important. And everything that we're learning from both the IT and deployment side of the house, as well as the application development side of the house, actually feeds into a product like Motivic as well. So we are drinking our own champagne when it comes to Motivic. But yeah, thank you for being here. And we have to run, unfortunately, after this, but you can catch us at the collaboration booth. I think Fletcher is around as well. I'll be there at the Outshift booth. If you have questions, happy to answer them at those places. But for now, we'll have to run. But thank you for coming in and listening to us. Thank you.
Welcome back to Cisco Live 2024 Amsterdam. We are just out of the last iTalk of the day, or maybe we've got one more. We need to check the schedule because there's so much that's gone on today. But actually, we've just come out of generative AI, and I know we've talked so much about that today. If you have missed any of the sessions, I know they're going to be there on demand for you to watch later on. But if that is a topic that you're really interested in, if it's something that you're new to, that innovation talk was just such a treat to actually hear some practical tips from some of our leaders, as well as some real-life use cases into how generative AI is actually helping our customers. So we're actually going to head out now to Cedric. Cedric, you're out in the world of solutions, right? What do you have for us? I think we're going to continue the focus with Outshift.
I know, Nish, it's been a great day for Outshift here at Cisco Live in Amsterdam, and they've made a really great announcement this morning about Motivic. And I'm definitely not an expert about that, but I have one with me. Ola is one of our product managers, and he's just going to show us what the product is and give us a quick demo. But first of all, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So I'm Ola, product manager here at Outshift, and I'm going to be walking us through a brief demo over the next few minutes. This is a follow-up to the innovation talk we just had from our Senior Vice President of Outshift, Vijay Pandey, where he introduced Motivic to the audience. Motivic is a generative AI product that allows central IT teams to rapidly provision assistants and APIs for usage within an enterprise environment. And so we're going to look at how that plays out in real life. So this is a product dashboard right here, and we're going to play out a scenario where a marketing department wants to use generative AI capabilities to be able to perform event support within the company. So a request comes in, that request is sent over to the IT department, and this is the dashboard that the IT department sees. So they go over here to the request tab, and they have all of the details of the request that comes in from marketing. So marketing wants to use Azure OpenAI, GPT-4 Turbo models. They specified the specific data sources they want to use, and they have the set of policies they want to apply, as well as the groups of people that can actually use the assistant. So what happens now is that the IT guy is going to go ahead and create what we call a motif. A motif is just a combination of data sources, models, user groups, as well as the policies. So once that happens, so we're going to go ahead and create a motif here. And then we go back here, and then once this is completed, if we go to the motif dashboard here, we actually see the newly created motif for the marketing events team. Now, if you click on this motif, we can see a set of details. The details that we see here are related to the endpoints that the marketing team is actually going to use to start interfacing with large language models. So if the marketing team wants to actually build their own chatbots or their applications, they can take this API with the API keys and build on top of that. However, if they want to start interfacing directly, they can actually go ahead and click on the URL here, and they get an assistant. This assistant comes powered with the knowledge bases, and we can actually start seeing how that plays out. Alex is in marketing. Alex wants to use the assistant. He types in some prompts over here, down here, and then we can see the policies in action. So the token policies in action here. We can see the other policies, the PII policies are in action right here. And so Alex is happy with what we have built for him as an IT department, and he can actually send the URL over to the rest of the marketing team to start using this assistant. Now, while Alex was doing all of this, everything was getting logged on the back end in the IT dashboard. So if you go back to the IT dashboard, on the monitoring tab, we can actually see how every single prompt that Alex sent was being logged in the logs and reports tab over here. So if you go over here, this is the marketing event support logs. We can see every single prompt that the marketing team actually sent out. We can see all of the details, the budgets, token budget limit that was triggered when they sent the first prompt, all of the timestamps, the responses, as well as all of the profile of what happened during the prompt. Now we go back to the monitoring dashboard, and we can also show you how we're actually able to track when people are using LLMs out of compliance with the Shadow LLM tab. In addition to this, we have an intelligence tab over here that allows us to understand what people are doing with the company's LLM investments. At the same time, we can also up-level that information and show you exactly how much ROI we're generating by using LLMs within the company. So in summary, we've shown how the marketing department actually took a request, sent it over to IT. IT was able to provision an assistant. The assistant was used by the marketing department, and we were able to track every single prompt that was used in the logs of this motific. So if you wanted to learn more about this, please stand by. We have a lot more details to share with you at the booth here. And you can also visit our website, motific.ai. I want to thank you for your time, and we're looking forward to